What exactly does Jungkook keep? That question suddenly became a hot topic among BTS fans after a confession that sounded simple, but actually left a trace of mystery that was hard to ignore. In an unexpected moment, Jungkook called Jimin's name in a different tone, deeper, quieter, as if hiding something that had never really been revealed to the public. It all started from a casual conversation that didn't look special at first. Jungkook, who is known as a cheerful and open figure in front of the camera, suddenly becomes more reflective when discussing his relationship with Jimin. He did not give long details, nor did he explain clearly, but it was precisely from the limitations of the words that there was a big room for speculation. He only said that there were things about Jimin that not everyone knew, and that he chose to keep it. That short sentence was like a small spark that immediately ignited a big curiosity. For some people, it may sound normal, but for ARMY, a term for BTS fans, every word that comes out of Jungkook has its own meaning, especially if it concerns Jimin, a figure who has been known to have a very close relationship with him. Both of them are not only group mates, but also friends who have gone through various phases of life together, from the stressful trainee period to the peak of extraordinary global popularity. But precisely because of that closeness, Jungkook's confession feels different. There was something he didn't say. There was a pause in his speech. There was an expression that seemed to hold back more stories than he allowed to come out. Many began to wonder, what did he actually keep? Is it a personal memory that is too valuable to share? Or is there another side of Jimin that is deliberately kept from the public spotlight? But on the other hand, there are also those who see this as a clue to the depth of their relationship. That what they have is not just an ordinary friendship, but an emotional bond that has been tested by time and experience. They have faced industry pressure, public criticism, even almost inhuman expectations. In such a situation, having someone who really understands without the need to explain is something very rare. Jungkook himself is known as an honest figure in expressing his feelings. He does not hesitate to show affection, admiration, and even weakness in public. But when he chooses to be silent about something, it actually becomes more meaningful. The silence is not empty, but full of meaning that can only be understood by those who really know him. Meanwhile, Jimin is still a warm and caring self. He did not give a direct response to Jungkook's statement, but his consistent attitude actually reinforced the speculation that there was something that they did keep together. On various occasions, Jimin always shows support for Jungkook, both openly and through small gestures that often go unnoticed. Their interaction, which has been a fan's favorite, is now seen with a new perspective. Every look, every smile, even every silence between them felt to have a deeper meaning. As if there's a language that only the two of them understand, something that does not need to be explained because it has been understood without words. This phenomenon also shows how the public is often looking for more than just what they see. In a world full of information, mystery is the most interesting thing. In the case of Jungkook and Jimin, the mystery is not created intentionally, but arises naturally from honesty that is not fully revealed. Do we really need to know what Jungkook keeps? Or does the beauty of their relationship lie in things that are not expressed? These questions may never have a definite answer, but that's where the attraction lies. What is clear, Jungkook's confession has opened a wider discussion room about the meaning of relationship, privacy, and trust. He reminded that not everything has to be shared to be real. Sometimes, what means the most is what we choose to keep. And perhaps, behind all the speculation and curiosity, there is one thing for sure. The relationship between Jungkook and Jimin is something sincere, strong, and not easy to explain in words. A bond that does not require public validation to remain meaningful. In the end, This mystery may never be completely solved. But precisely because of that, he will continue to live in conversation, in interpretation, and in curiosity that never really goes out. But if we try to dive deeper, Jungkook's confession seems to be not just a spontaneous sentence that is just said. There's a layer of emotion that feels real, something that cannot be made up. The way he paused for a moment before continuing his sentence, the way his eyes did not immediately look at the camera, everything gave the impression that he was weighing between wanting to share and wanting to keep guarding. And this is where the mystery is getting stronger. Because in the fast-paced and high-paced entertainment world, silence is actually the loudest language. When an idol like Jungkook, who has lived under public supervision for years, chooses not to say something completely, then the public will automatically feel that there is something really important behind it. Jimin's name that is mentioned in that context enlarges the echo. Jimin is not just a groupmate, but a figure that is often called an emotional home for Jungkook. Many moments in the past show how Jimin is always present when Jungkook looks the most fragile, both behind the stage and in front of the camera. From a silent hug to an understanding gaze, all of that now feels like a puzzle piece that is starting to be rearranged by the fans. Some fans began to associate this recognition with various old moments that used to be considered normal. For example, when Jungkook once looked calmer after talking to Jimin, or when he unconsciously looked for Jimin's whereabouts in the middle of the crowd. Small things like that now get a new meaning, as if it is proof that there is something deeper than just an ordinary interaction. But interestingly, none of them tried to clarify or explain further. No additional statements, no rebuttals, no affirmations. And precisely because of that, this mystery continues to grow. In a world that is usually filled with quick clarification and instant response, this silent attitude feels like a deliberate choice. Some people may see this as a strategy, a way to keep the public's attention on them. But for those who really follow BTS's journey from the beginning, this feels more personal than just a strategy. It feels like a decision born from experience, from the tiredness of facing expectations, and from the desire to have something that remains pure in the midst of all the hustle and bustle. There is a possibility that what Jungkook keeps is not something big in a dramatic sense, but something simple but very meaningful. Maybe it was a promise, maybe a memory, or even a conversation that only the two of them understood. Things like that often don't look important to outsiders, but instead become the foundation of a strong relationship. And at this point, the public begins to be faced with an interesting dilemma. Does this curiosity need to be satisfied, or should it be left a mystery? Because sometimes when everything is revealed, the beauty can fade. Mystery has a unique way to keep something alive, keep it interesting, and still have room to be interpreted. What also cannot be ignored is how this confession affects the way fans see their relationship in the future. There is a subtle shift from just enjoying the interaction to trying to understand the meaning behind it. Every new content, every appearance, will now be analyzed from a different point of view. And this shows how big the impact of a simple sentence is if it is said by someone like Jungkook. On the other hand, this is also a reminder that idols are still human with personal limits and choices. Not all things have to be shared. Not all stories have to be told. There is a part of life that should still be personal, no matter how much attention comes from outside. If we look at it from a broader perspective, what happened is not only about Jungkook and Jimin. This is about how we as spectators often feel that we have the right to know everything, when in reality we are not. There's a thin line between caring and excessive curiosity, and moments like this remind us of the importance of respecting those boundaries. But of course, that curiosity will not just disappear. On the contrary, it will continue to grow, develop, and maybe even become part of the big narrative that surrounds them. Everyone will have their own theory, their own interpretation, and that is what keeps this story alive. And maybe, an unexpected time, Jungkook will choose to share more. Or maybe never at all. Both are equally possible, and both are valid. Because in the end, the most important thing is not what we know, but what they feel and choose to keep. One thing is for sure, this confession has left an unforgettable mark. It is not just a statement, but a door that opens slightly, enough to make us peek, but not enough to really look inside. And maybe that's where his strength lies. This statement seems to be the end of all the speculations that are circulating. That behind all the rumors and assumptions, there is a much simpler reality. Two people who care about each other, who are constantly learning to be better, not only for themselves, but also for each other. However, the public does not seem ready to stop discussing it. Every word Jimin said kept being analyzed. Every expression is observed. Even the old moments are brought up again, as if trying to find the pieces of the puzzle that have been missed so far. This is no longer just news, but a phenomenon that shows how much the world cares about their relationship. In the midst of all that, one question remains hanging. Why now? Why did Jimin choose to open his voice at a time like this? Is this just a coincidence, or is there a deeper reason that has not been fully revealed? The answer may never be really clear. But one thing is for sure, this statement has changed the way many people see their relationships. No longer just an entertaining duo on stage, but two individuals with a much more complex and emotional story. And maybe that's where their true strength lies. Not on perfection, but on honesty. Not on the image, but on the relationship that continues to be tested by time. As the world keeps talking, Jimin and Jungkook keep walking in their own way. Without the need to explain everything. Without the need to prove anything to anyone. Because in the end, what they have is not something that can be measured by public opinion. This is their story. And for the first time in a long time, the world feels a little closer to understanding it. The wave of conversation that emerged after Park Jimin's statement has not yet subsided. In fact, it is increasingly spreading to various corners of the fan community, to the global media. Every piece of word he said kept being replayed, analyzed, and even debated with increasingly diverse points of view. In the midst of the hustle and bustle, one name continues to be the center of attention. Jungkook, a figure that has always looked so strong, but now slowly begins to be understood from a deeper side. Many are starting to realize that all this time, they may only see the surface. Jungkook's laughter on stage, his energy that seems to never run out, and the image of golden magne that is strongly attached, turns out to hold layers of emotions that are not always visible. And of all the people, Jimin was the one who seemed to open that small door, giving a glimpse of what really happened behind the scenes of their lives. The story he told was not about a big conflict or sensational drama. Quite the opposite, about small things that are often overlooked but have a much greater meaning. About how Jungkook sometimes chooses to be silent when facing pressure, about how he more often keeps his worries than sharing them, and about how their relationship is tested not by big things, but by simple details that slowly pile up. At this point, the public is starting to be divided in the way they interpret everything. Some feel touched, seeing this as a proof of sincere closeness. But not a few began to speculate further, trying to find the hidden story behind the confession. As if every relationship must have a dramatic side that has not been revealed. In fact, if you look deeper, it is simple honesty that is the essence of everything. Jimin is not creating a sensation. He only tells the reality. The human relationships, no matter how strong they are, still have gaps, still need effort, and can still falter if not maintained. And maybe this is what makes many people feel so connected to their stories. Because behind all the glitter of the entertainment world, what they experience is actually very human. But there is one part of Jimin's statement that continues to haunt many people. He had mentioned about the moment where he felt unable to reach Jungkook completely. This sentence is simple, but full of meaning. Many wonder what really happened at that moment. Or is it just a part of a natural growth process? These questions don't have a definite answer. But that's where the attraction is. Because in that obscurity, everyone finds their own reflection. Some see it as a phase that they have experienced in friendship. Some see it as a symbol of a relationship that is tested by time and change. On the other hand, this moment also makes many fans see their old interaction again with a new point of view. Old videos are circulating again, showing small pieces that used to be considered ordinary, but now feel different. Longer gazes than usual, silence in the middle of a conversation, or even jokes that now feel like they have a hidden meaning. Is it all a coincidence? Or was there really a story that only the two of them really understand? Over time, this discussion does not only stop at the relationship between the two of them. Many began to discuss the dynamics of BTS as a whole. How the pressure as a global group affects the relationship between members. How they have to balance between personal life and public expectations. And how they still survive in the midst of it all. In this context, what Jimin expresses feels like a small piece of a much bigger picture. It's not just about him and Jungkook, but about the reality of being part of something so big that it barely makes room for error. And maybe that's why their relationship became so strong, because they not only share happy moments, but also burdens that not everyone can understand. Interestingly, in the midst of all speculation and analysis, both Jimin and Jungkook chose to remain silent after that statement. No additional clarification, no long explanation. It was as if they were letting the world speak while they continued to live their relationship as usual. This attitude actually adds a layer of mystery that is getting deeper. But for some people, their silence is not a sign of something hidden, but a form of belief that not everything needs to be explained, that there's a part of the relationship that the public does not need to know. And maybe that's the biggest lesson of all this, that in a world that continues to demand transparency, there is power in keeping certain things private, that not all stories have to be told to the end, and that the strongest relationship is often the one that does not need much explanation. As time goes by, this euphoria will probably subside. The public's attention will shift to other things, as always happens. But the traces of this moment will remain, not as a scandal, not as a controversy, but as a reminder that behind all the spotlight, there is a true story that continues to run. A story about two people who grow up together. A story about a distance that was once created but never really separated. And the story of a relationship that, although not perfect, instead becomes strong because of its imperfection. In the midst of all that, one thing seems to be becoming clearer. Whatever happens between Jimin and Jungkook, it is not something that can be simplified by outside opinions. It is something that lives, develops, and is only truly understood by those who live it. And maybe, for now, that's more than enough.